You missed me, you really missed me.
I'm back, and I'm better than ever.
As some of you may know, my video entitled Dating a Feminist was taken down apparently as a result of someone feeling threatened, bullied, harassed. I can assure you that I made no threats to anyone. As for bullying, isn't that one of those buzzwords that can mean anything and everything? As for harassing, doesn't harassment imply that I go out of my way to make an individual feel bad? If so, considering I never even contacted the individuals I poked fun at, how can that be harassment? Feminists are bothered by the idea that women aren't funny. Well, let me ask you this. How can women be funny when feminists who presume to speak on behalf of women everywhere can't take the simplest joke? In fact, the amazing atheist has a video called Feminism versus Jokes. Honestly, I don't think the jokes at their expense I provided are any different from William Ray Johnson or any of the big YouTube names who pick videos of people and laugh and joke about their misfortune. And to the dames, if indeed it was one of them that flagged me, and if indeed any of them are stalking my channel and watching this video, lighten up. I was just poking a little fun. I feel sorry for anyone who has become so bitter they can't even laugh at themselves a little. Had you instead just piped up in the comments section and said funny video, but you're still an asshole. Oh, and you know what they say about guys who drive sports cars, right? I guarantee you that the Amaris who watch my videos would have thumbed up your comment to the top, and you would have gained mad respect for being cool and having a sense of humor. At any rate, I have filed an appeal on the flag, and it's in YouTube's hands now. I trust in the fair and competent judgment of the YouTube review staff. So I made a blog, link in the description, in case this channel gets taken down as a result of bullying and false flagging etc. And I also put the video on 3 different networks, and uploaded it to 3 different file hosts for direct download to ensure perfect quality. Immediately after my video got taken down, a friend of mine mirrored it and told me to link to his mirror. Within minutes his video was taken down. The only way anyone could have known the video was there is if someone was watching my channel and followed the link. That means the person who flagged me wasn't just a random person who felt something was offensive. It was a person who was watching my channel, waiting for me to do something so they could flag it. What do you call it when someone follows you around watching your every move so they can report you to authorities the moment you step the least bit out of line? I would call that bullying, stalking, and harassing. Someone wrote to me and suggested or hoped that the dame's channel be flagged in retaliation. To that I say no. Let me tell you why that would be wrong. 1. We don't even know it was one of them that did the flagging. 2. A handful of ladies operate that channel. Having their channel shut down would mean punishing all of them for the actions of one. 3. It's just downright immature, and an abuse of YouTube's system. YouTube wants a community where people can exchange ideas and express themselves, but at the same time the community must abide by state and federal laws, and also the community shouldn't have to be bombarded with pornography, and beheadings and other disturbing acts of violence and such. Flagging someone because you don't like them is an abuse of the flagging system. So again, it's just immature, and I think we men's rights activists need be careful that we never stoop to the level of feminists. We claim we're the good guys in this intellectual war, we claim we are better than they, then let us always show that. To quote Nietzsche, beware that, when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster, for when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you. 4. Censorship simply doesn't work. Oh, it might work for a moment, like sweeping dirt under the rug. But censorship acts as something of a martyrdom, reinforcing a person's conviction, reinforcing the group's conviction. 5. I may be a men's rights activist, but first and foremost, I am a free speech activist. Free speech is the most sacred of my beliefs. You see, freedom cannot exist in a world where we are not free to speak our minds. Also, when people have bad ideas, it is wrong to take away their microphone. It is better that we turn up the volume, let the whole world hear just how bad their ideas are. The most damning evidence against feminism will be provided by the feminist when she opens her mouth. Perhaps I was flagged specifically as a tool of censorship, or maybe someone seen themselves in the video and just got butthurt, but I am going to run on the premise that I was censored not for what I said, but due to what I believe, men's rights, censorship, often under the guise of fear, and with the use of buzzwords like hate speech and bullying, is a very common tactic among feminists of both sexes. I think a good way of differentiating the good guys and the bad guys is to simply ask which one of these two rivals wants the other forcibly silenced.
The U of T administration officially recognizes the men's rights group. The student union, on the other hand, wants them kicked off campus.
What we believe is that free speech ends when hate speech begins.
The union says female students are scared.
Your feeling is that the university should ban this group from being on campus?
Yes.
And why are you hesitant to say yes?
I feel I'm going to be targeted afterwards.
Now what do men's rights activists have to say about their opponent's right to speak?
I think they're misguided, but I think they're well within their rights to protest.
Now let's talk about the topic of bullying. In 1999, the Columbine High School massacre was being exploited by every group of people with a grudge against something. Michael Moore turned the issue into a gun and race debate. The psychology backlash crowd turned it into an issue about the careless prescriptions of antidepressants administered to youths. Christian fundamentalists turned it into an issue of needing prayer in school and invented Christian martyrs when no proof they targeted Christians existed, and they blamed Marilyn Manson. Video games and movies were also blamed by media and soccer moms. But when all was said and done, an investigation by the CIA into school shootings revealed the common occurrence that the attacker was bullied. So that's when we all got introduced to this hysteria of bullying. After all, you try to ban guns and you get pushback from Second Amendment activists. You try to ban music and video games not to your liking and you get pushback from free speech advocates. You propose zero tolerance against bullying and, well, who the hell's going to stand up for bullying? So bullying became a thing. Before Columbine, the only time we ever heard about bullying is when it was the plot on a TV show, where the main character learns to stand up against a bully. Then the LGBT jumped on the media's brief bully hysteria, which if left alone would have fizzled out of fashion in a year or so. They wanted bullying to be their word that they used to describe those phobes that didn't like them, and to be honest, being anything other than straight would get you bullied in school, though not much more than having a stupid name, or being the girl that had menstrual blood seep through her pants, or any other embarrassing event that high schoolers refused to let you or anyone forget. But it was when the LGBT adopted the term bullying, and began pushing it, it got pretty big. Then came Dr. Phil and his bully awareness.
This morning on Capitol Hill, internet safety experts and other witnesses will tell a congressional committee about the growing problem of bullying, both in school and online. Dr. Phil McGraw, host of Dr. Phil Show, is going to be testifying at that hearing this morning, and he joins us exclusively from Washington. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, Harry. How are you?
I know you have done an awful lot of segments on this on your show. This is something that means a lot to you. What is your most important message to those folks down in Washington today?
Well, I want to talk specifically today about cyberbullying because it is the wild, wild web. I mean, it is so out of control. These kids are getting isolated in their homes. They're getting isolated on these computers, and they're getting their reputations ruined. And
oh, for fuck's sakes, the wild, wild web, cyberbullying. Are you for serious? And these kids get isolated? What does that even mean? You mean people ignore them and don't play with them? You know, I was bullied in school. And let me tell you, if the worst thing any of those bullies ever did to me was call me a bad name or ignore me, I would have considered myself to be a spoiled brat. When you come home with a bloody nose, you've been bullied. When you come home and you've been ignored, you've just had a good day at school. No wonder we've raised a group of spoiled crybaby narcissistic emos who go around cutting themselves. Maybe if Timmy came home with a black eye, he might be too busy holding ice to his face to want to cut himself for attention.
they're humiliated. And look, so much of what's going on today is beyond parents because our kids are much more computer literate than we are oftentimes. And they can Photoshop pictures and put a child in a humiliating or embarrassing situation.
This picture I like to call the Pierre. I invited Butters to stay the night, and while he was sleeping, I made a mustache on his face with cat poo. And this time when Butters stayed the night, I put a tampon in his mouth. I call this picture the Sleeping Minstrel. This one I call Hot Fudge Monday. I really like how the light plays with the background on this one.
We see these kids become isolated, withdrawn, they stop going to school, and they can even, as we have seen so tragically with situations like Phoebe Prince, can wind up actually taking their lives. I mean, this is a terrible burden on these kids, and we've got to give the educators the tools they need to.
Phoebe Prince is a pretty good example of why focusing on this bullying crap is bad. Phoebe was a troubled girl with a history of depression. She was on psychiatric medication. She got into trouble at a boarding school. She was even caught bullying one or more students in that boarding school. She tried to kill herself by overdosing on her psychiatric medication. She moved to America, and immediately dated the high school quarterback, who already had a girlfriend. Well, that didn't go down so well. She immediately jumped to the next guy, who was also dating another really popular girl. So right from the starting gate she's sleeping around with the boyfriends of very popular girls at that school. Needless to say, she caused some drama, got a bad reputation, and got referred to as the Irish whore. The bullying, which was name-calling, and in one occasion a threat was made, and then one of the girls threw an empty energy drink can at her as they drove by. That day she hung herself. It was no big deal until some DA dug this up and turned this into a bullying witch hunt. Those mean girls who called her names were put on trial, not for bullying, but for ridiculous charges. The two underage boys she had consensual sex with were charged with statutory rape, in spite of the fact that they were also underage. When the witch hunt was all said and done, the father really didn't want these kids thrown in jail. The charges of statutory rape were waived. The others got community service for committing misdemeanors. So a troubled young lady caused drama, and got drama in return, then killed herself. This should have been a non-issue. No actual crime was ever really committed, but new laws have been put into place. Her so-called bullies have had their lives ruined by being forced into the public eye and having the threat of prison hang over their heads for 2 years, all because some emotionally disturbed young lady caused drama and then killed herself. And turning this into a high-profile media sensation, putting those bullies on trial. What does that say to our youth? You know, I was bullied in school. Probably not much worse than anyone else. And I never committed suicide. Why should I? However, if in this day and age, I went back to that school, and got put through what I had been put through, I might kill myself just so I could be a big name hero and everyone in the country would cry me a river of tears, and those assholes that bullied me would have to go to trial and have their lives ruined. Killing myself sure would make them sorry for fucking with me. What I am saying is, we are encouraging our youth to commit suicide by rewarding them with revenge on their bullies. Is that really the smart thing to do? Dr. Phil says we are facing a bully epidemic. Of course we are, because we are calling everything an act of bullying. Then we have Manda Todd. We call it bullying. I call it sexual extortion, blackmail, and stalking. I think the lesson here is, parents, teach your daughters not to send topless pics to people online. But instead, any valuable lesson we might learn from this is called victim blaming, and the whole fiasco is just called bullying. You know, when there is no real lesson to be learned, we make up lessons to suit our agenda. But when there is a lesson to be learned, we sweep it under the rug to support our agenda. This isn't just an American problem, it's a Western culture problem. Any culture exposed to American media.
Get this under control.
Help me out on this. All right, say I'm sitting at home and I become aware that my kid is getting roughed up on the internet.
Roughed up on the internet? Seriously? We're going there now? How does one get roughed up on the internet? Next we're going to hear online rape. You know, I find it increasingly hard to have a drop of sympathy for rape victims and kids who are bullied. Rape used to mean something horrific and unthinkable. Now if a woman tells me she was raped, I assume she means she got drunk and made some regrettable decisions. When I was 12 years old, I was shoved around, thrown to the ground a few times, and then forced to lick someone's shoes while his friend threatened me with a knife if I didn't do it. If a boy tells me he's been bullied, I assume it means he made a stupid video on YouTube and some troll made fun of him in the comments section.
My kid is getting roughed up on the internet.
Can we stop doing that? Can you just stop saying stupid things like that?